And I'm out here at Polly's place. There are some who would say, Julian, you should be gardening out there right now. Why aren't you out here gardening? And why don't you have some kind of low-wage job here in town 365 days out of the year and continue volunteering? And why aren't you growing precisely the things I want you to grow? And how dare you garden different than my grandpappy? Because my grandpappy was a good man. How dare you say bad things about my grandpappy because you garden different? I'll fight you. There are those people. There's nothing I can do about that. There's some like 28,000 people in Port Huron. Some are gonna hate my guts because I dare to dream. You know what I mean? But dream with me for a second. Because all this is missing is an art and exterior, cement plaster, all kinds of stuff. Some would say this isn't developed enough and should have been developed more by now. But the city terminated our lease a year and a half in to add one house on 1/3 of this property as part of a 9-house development for the block. So this, and also having said the developer's been in conversation within the past year. So pretty much right away, James Freed put us out here with the deal he signed with me for 10 years with the knowledge that he'd be bringing in a housing development to wipe us from the board anyway. So we have, as part of our lease, the right to 12 months before we vacate the property, which means we get another full summer to the end of September to fight to stay first and foremost, because we're talking about replacing a free food forest, an edible park and learning center and entertainment space for the community with one house. By the time this is done being installed, people can spend about 2-3 hours out here playing games on their phone, learning how to better garden, and be just as fluent in gardening in Port Huron as I am in 2-3 hours of interaction with this space. But knowing we're getting hindered from the very beginning, they refused us. Freed said we'd get water and then never provided it, and then started making up a myth that I demanded it for free to protect himself. Hindered us from the beginning. So I've been going at a steady but snail's pace, knowing he was going to do us dirty sometime soon anyway. And sure enough, he did. So we got another year to put in a big garden out here, an annual garden. We have perennials like asparagus and fruit trees and berry bushes planted already. But some have been vandalized, some of the fruit trees, unfortunately. But by and large, we have a lot of perennials here as well. We started with perennials with a 10-year plan. And so, you know, there's nothing to do out here. Only 6 months of the year does someone need to be in any way tending this place. And the more developed it gets, the less often that person needs to come around. You know, like the more those ecosystems are perennial and built in. So 6 months of the year, there's no active gardening here. There's things you can do at the end of the 6-month growing season to let things grow over winter, but there's nothing to do when the ground is frozen and that cold. So as far as like the resident and non-resident issues at the city council meeting lately, like if I need to live here 6 months of the year plus a day to garden and give away food, but I don't have to do that to have a relationship with this community. Moreover, over time, I need only be here a week or two of every season just to tidy up some things and change some things and plant some things and organize some stuff. Otherwise, as time goes on, it takes less and less labor to maintain. That's the whole point. So our plan is, should we not be able to stay, we're gonna fight all the way to stay. I mean, everything's on the table. Hunger strikes, protests, parties, everything to stay between now and September 2026. But should the bulldozers bulldoze anyway or whatever, then we're gonna go virtual. We're gonna lean into a gardening app for the whole city, and we're gonna make Polly's place. We're gonna move Polly the possum into Pine Grove Park in a Pokemon Go type way, where she becomes synonymous with the city of Port Huron in a way that James Freed and his so-and-so homies can't touch. Go to the cloud. And then if people want to engage on their phones and play in citywide scavenger hunts and learning adventures about gardening, they'll have shown that even on privately owned property by me, even with a 10-year contract with the city and front page news about it and all this excitement about it, that they'll do me dirty time and time again every time I put a physical garden in, simply because we have influence over the community and James Freed does not have influence over us. And therefore we're a fly in his ointment. Since they've shown that we can't have a physical one, we got to go virtual and just make them choke on the success of that learning. My goal, which began in May of 2020, was to end food insecurity in Port Huron permanently as soon as possible. All the tricks. That's why I'm mascot, that's why edutainment, that's why all the posts, as soon as possible. And I was 40 years old in May of 2020, and I thought, okay, well, how long is that going to take realistically? Is this the rest of my life, or how soon can this be done? And my estimate at that time, in May of 2020, was 5 to 10 years. This May will be 6 years. So I thought the difference between the 5 to 10, the spectrum, would be determined based on city support. If the city got well behind urban gardening and teaching everybody and agri-hoods and all the cool things associated, we could get it done in 5 years. That was my thought. If they had any measure of resistance, all the way to worst possible response, it would be up to 10 years. And I think I can say that this is the worst possible response. It's beyond imagining all we've gone through. So I have to presume this is the worst possible response, which sets a bar for whatever it's worth, that it could take up to 10 years. We're at 6. I don't want it to take that long. I want it to take 1 more year. I want it to take 6 more months. But obviously, because the city's slowing us down, we're at 6. So we're at the point where we have to acknowledge that any type of partnership with the city is going to be in bad faith on their end. And I'd strongly discourage any businesses or even families from moving to Port Huron at this time because of the bad faith issuing from the dais and the city manager. About half the dais, a little bit more than half. Some of them are alright. But that having been said, we have a plan either way, but we're definitely going to party the heck out of this space and grow a big garden out here next year. But please go down to city council meetings and make your voice heard. It's crazy how many people have gone down and spoken up for Polly's place, and they just it shames them, which is good, and it makes a public record, which is most important of all. So that having been said, there's nothing for me to do here. I hope I don't have to come back for a council meeting anytime this winter, but I might. So if not, I'll be back in the spring, April, beginning of May. All right, peace.